Now to Nigeria's energy sector, which remains one of the most closely watched parts of President Bola Tinubu's economic agenda. 2 years into his administration, Tinubu's government has introduced a series of bold reforms designed to revitalise oil production, cut operational costs and attract investment back into the country's most vital industry. I recently sat down with Wale Tinubu, Group CEO of Oando plc, to unpack how private operators are adapting to this new environment.
What tangible impact have the removal of the subsidy and, of course, sorting out the foreign exchange had on private sector operators?
Without a shadow of doubt, it's changed things. First and foremost, when you look at the amount of waste that had occurred over successive decades, I mean, Nigeria has potentially spent over $150 billion on petrol subsidies. Now, that's more than enough money to ensure that you had 24-hour electricity in this country, more than enough capital to ensure you had full-scale refining, more than enough capital to solve perpetual infrastructural deficits which this country has had. So the issue is the saving is critical. And you can see the direct impact in the amount of revenues which the state, local, and the federal government now have. They have 3 times the revenue available to them than they did prior to the subsidies. And that means more cash, more availability for public sector infrastructure. Now, there's a limit to what the private sector can do. So when you have to deal with issues like roads, for example, which are common services, you need the public sector, and so government needs to have capital to do it. Our tax to GDP ratio must go up, or our revenue to GDP ratio must go up, and it is going up. So I think the next step was that. And in terms of the private sector, having a unified exchange rate as well as a removal of subsidy has allowed the private sector to focus on energy conservation. And you would have noticed, first things first, we've seen a 40 to 50% reduction in the consumption of petrol in the country. The roads are freer. And why is that? Because we had a situation where we had a lot of movement that probably, to a certain extent, probably wasn't necessary. There's now going to be more investment in telecoms, more investment in communication, other means of communication. There's also going to be more investment in mass transit, which is what it should be, rather than individual transit, which is expensive. Okay. Finally, for example, take things as basic as even generators. Generators were run on petrol. Now, petrol, PMS means premium motor spirits. Now, to use the most expensive fuel to generate power is an anomaly, and it's only existed because we had mispriced products within our system. I think that we now have the fundamentals that is necessary to create a modern-day economy. And without having a modern-day economy or having fundamentals, then it's going to be very tough for the country to industrialize.